Welcome back to Gym Challenge number 8. We head into Swiss round number 2. Dennis Geisler, Robert Matthews here with you. And yeah, we're about to get into it. Something I just realized now as I'm looking at these team sheets, we didn't have an Iron Hands in the last battle. Iron Hands, one of the most popular Pokemon in this format. We've got 2 in this one. We've got Junxi and Anthony heading into this round number 2 of Swiss. It'll be 5 rounds of Swiss today, heading into a top 8 top cut. As is typical here at Gym Challenge. Psycho Turtle here in Pico Rivera. He should come out. Junxi and Anthony here. Anthony with the Tornadus Incarnate, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Landorus Therian, Amoonguss, Goldengo, and Iron Hands. Junxi with the Cresselia, the Urshifu Single Strike, the Ursaluna Blood Moon, Iron Hands, Hisuian Arcanine, and the Sinistcha. A Pokemon we haven't seen a whole ton of. Urshifu Single Strike, Ursaluna Blood Moon, Cresselia we haven't seen in a bit. What are you feeling, Robert?
So from Junxi we have some like Trick Room focused team with like faster options, with that Scarf Dark Urshifu and the Hisuian Arcanine, which actually has a bit of an interesting like mind game type relationship with this Goldengo, with the Goldengo on Anthony's side, because it's Terra Flying. If it doesn't Terra, it is weak to the Flare Blitz, and if it does, it is weak to the Rock Slide.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting duo if we end up seeing them up against each other. Junxi does have the Trick Room options, does have that Scarf Single Striker Shifu. It is a nice way to back up the Trick Room team if you end up needing a fast option there. In any case, looking into this battle, again, round number 2 of Swiss here, early on still in this tournament. Junxi will have the Iron Hands and the Urshifu starting out, so we've got that priority Fake Out and the Urshifu Choice Scarf, and on the other side it's Goldengo and Amoonguss. I haven't seen a lot of Amoonguss lately, but these 2 Pokemon are ones it matches up pretty decently into, all things considered. One of the reasons why it was so useful back in Regulation D. Goldengo has some options here. Could be hit by that Wicked Blow, the Scarf Wicked Blow. May have to play defensively, get out of there. Does have the Protect. This is a Life Orb variant of the Goldengo. Make it Rain Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, Protect.
Protect does. Protect wouldn't actually help it against this Urshifu. Rage Powder normally would, but Iron Hands has Fake Out Pressure, which would stop any like Rage Powders from going off.
The Iron Hands coming out on the other side. Early Terastallization from Junxi.
On the Urshifu to Dark to boost the damage from those Wicked Blows.
Boost that even more. Big turn here.
Fake Out on the Iron Hands into Amoonguss. And Wicked Blow is going to target into the Amoonguss as well.
Interesting decision there. Probably predicting the switch out of the Goldengo correctly, but also not being able to pick up a knockout on the Amoonguss. Be pretty difficult to play around. Amoonguss does have that regenerator ability, so it can switch out and heal a little bit if it wants to.
And Anthony is now in a position to pressure with Fake Out and possibly get a Spore Off onto something with Amoonguss as well.
Yeah, definitely a lot of options for Anthony here. This Iron Hand's not really in threat of anything. It could even try to just go a bit more aggressive and try to just hit something. Although you'd imagine that the Single Striker Shifu might want to get out of there. Potentially not. We'll see what the choice is. This is a switch out. Junxi will bring in Sinistcha instead. Look at his little hospitality bonus onto that Iron Hands. Get that Rocky Helmet chip back.
Iron Hands from Anthony's side going to Fake Out Junxi's Iron Hands. And Amoonguss is going to Spore into that slot as well.
A nice choice there by Anthony, not picking to spore into what would eventually be a grass type, instead getting it off onto the Iron Hands. Still will be able to sit there for a little while, but does mean that it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Junxi to pivot around what Anthony has available. Anthony has a lot of options here. Could try to get the Golden Go back in to get some nasty plots up while the Iron Hands is out of commission. And the Sinistra out here really doesn't do a whole lot. It doesn't actually have the Matcha... no, it does. Wait.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the wrong one. It has Matcha Gotcha, Strength Sap, Rage Powder, Trick Room on this Sinistra. So it doesn't really do a whole lot to Golden Go. The Matcha Gotcha is the best that it has, and that's not really going to deal all that much.
Iron Hands going to switch out for Junxi into that Arcanine.
The Intimidate off onto Anthony's Iron Hands. Nice little decrease in damage, but it's switching out anyways.
To the Landorus.
It does mean that Anthony got the Intimidate bonus out of that
And
one.
Amoonguss also switching, going to be into that Goldango. Matcha Gotcha coming out from Sinistra.
Hold for burn. Okay, no burn. Very well played there by Anthony. I'm curious to see, by that, it seemed to imply that Junxi's Iron Hands was faster, or it just won the speed tie out of that, which did mean that the slower pivot for Anthony got a lot more value out of it. It does now mean that Goldengo can... it can protect if it wants to. It can also try to get a nasty plot up, try to... you probably want to target down this Arcanine as much as possible. Try to get it out of the way so Goldengo can kind of just chug for the rest of the battle, I'd imagine.
Our Arcanine switching out from Junxi into the
Iron Hands coming back.
Iron Hands. And there's a Terra. It's going to be the Goldango to flying.
Nice. That's an interesting one. Does mean, I don't know what it means. It means that it wouldn't have taken as much.
U-turn from the Landorus going on to Sinistra.
More Rocky Helmet damage from both of these sides. Does mean now the Landorus will pivot out once more. That Regenerator HP for Amoonguss coming back in.
Goldango going for the Make It Rain. going to do good damage to the Sinistra, but significantly less to the Iron Hands, and the Matcha Gotcha isn't going to do much to either the Goldango or Amoonguss on the field.
Yeah, it sure won't. And now, I'd say it's an opportunity for Anthony to kind of play this out a little slower. You have the opportunity here, yeah, to nasty plot for the Goldengo. And the Amoonguss can either go for a Pollen Puff to try to knock out the opposing Sinistra, or to just heal your Goldengo, because that's going to be pretty difficult to take down in the long term. Arcanine come back out, but that's basically the only option Junxi has in getting rid of this, of the options we've seen so far, which I believe... No, we've seen all of Junxi's Pokemon.
Sinistra switching out from Junxi back into the Arcanine.
We'll get that useless Intimidate off here. No physical moves on either of those.
Goldango going to set up that nasty plot.
We'll just be at +1 special attack because it did have that Make It Rain drop from before.
Iron Hands taking a sleep turn. And as Amoonguss Pollen Puffs up the Goldango.
Choice to make here for both players. The obvious for Anthony is either, well, it's a protect from Goldengo and something to try to stop this Arcanine. Arcanine should get taken down probably by 1 +1 Life Orb Make It Rain, I'd imagine. Even if it Terrestrialized, well, especially if it Terrestrialized, it would go to the Fairy type. So any opportunity that Golden Go can get to hit, even with the Arcanine out there, will be big. But Junxi needs to keep trying to pivot around that. Doesn't have a move there to pivot well, but could try to target a switch in, potentially reading it. Turn of
Amoonguss switching out for Anthony into the Iron Hands.
That'll be a hard Pokemon to crack for this.
Goldango going for the Protect, and Arcanine is going to lock in the Flare Blitz into the Goldango's Protect, and Iron Hands is going to wake up and also go for Wild Charge into the Goldango.
Changes a little bit of the math there. It means that this Goldango is probably at threat at being knocked out by that Wild Charge from the opposing Iron Hands. Arcanine most likely gets faked out here. One of those two Pokemon is getting faked out by the Iron Hands. And it's a question of whether Junxi has the damage to take down the Golden Go regardless, how much damage the Golden Go does.
Arcanine from Junxi switching out again into the Sinistra.
Get that extra hospitality bonus once again. Getting a lot of value on healing up that Iron Hands.
Fake Out goes into the Arcanine slot that switched to Sinistra, and Make It Rain coming up from Goldango is going to knock out the Sinistra, and still not too much to Iron Hands.
Even losing, well, we'll see. Still gotta wait for the Iron Hands to move. Hold up. Wild Charge.
Iron Hands goes for the Wild Charge into Goldango, and that is going to knock out.
That's a fantastic turn from Junxi there. Great read on figuring the Fake Out was going into the Hisuian Arcanine. Do all the damage that you need to with the Iron Hands. Now you're in a much better spot. You're not worrying about the Goldango anymore. You're not worried about that Terastal anymore. You still have to break it. Both these players are kind of dealing with part of the same issue, which is still have to break the other person's Iron Hands, and neither one has fantastic options to do that with, especially at this point.
Although, with Goldango gone, that does potentially free up Junxi to go for Fairy Terra Blasts.
That is true. That is absolutely true. Actually, no. Terastal was already used on the Urshifu.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I had already forgotten, because, yeah, this has been a long battle, and it continues.
Landorus and Urshifu are going to come back in.
Are indeed. I believe that Urshifu should be faster with both of them Choice Scarfed. It depends on how each of them was trained, but in any case, one probably knocks out the other if they get a clean shot. Or at the very least, could be an opportunity to take down that Iron Hands is a super effective move.
Iron Hands switching up for Junxi back to the Arcanine.
Nice chance to lower that Iron Hands damage a little bit, as well as the Landorus, but can pivot out a little bit easier.
Urshifu going to go for the Wicked Blow. Going into the Landorus, and it's going to take the knockout.
Yeah, and that Intimidate doesn't matter onto the Urshifu. Just gets those critical hits.
Drain Punch from Iron Hands going to do good damage to the Urshifu, but not knock it out.
Yeah, and that might have been the Arcanine that saved the Urshifu there. I'm not going to do the math, but it had to have been pretty close to a knockout there if it hadn't gotten that Intimidate off. So now Urshifu gets another opportunity to send out another attack. Won't do very much damage against either of these Pokemon.
Urshifu actually going to switch out again from Junxi to the Iron Hands. The Rage Powder coming up from Amoonguss. The Arcanine is going to go for Flare Blitz, and that's going to knock out Amoonguss.
Great choice there from Junxi. And still an opportunity here to switch out the Arcanine again if you want to reset what you are choice banded into. Take a lot of recoil, but should be fine.
Drain Punch into the Arcanine from Iron Hands is going to knock out the Arcanine.
we'll pick up the knockout. I still think Junxi should be able to handle the rest of this battle. It actually could be kind of close. The Anthony's Iron Hands is at -1 attack, but it is.
And with Junxi's fake out pressure, Urshifu's going to be able to hit twice into that Iron Hand before it can do anything back.
Well, indeed. That might be what is able to get it done there. Drain Punch will heal up a little bit of HP if it's able to take this close combat. Oh, 1 HP!
1 HP!
Oh, this could get hairy. But the Drain Punch from Junxi's Iron Hands, we think is a little bit faster. And we'll finish off that one. A fun battle there, very long one, really showed the power of that Iron Hands there, but Junxi taking the 1-0 lead in this set. It was really well played from Junxi. That play to switch in the Sinistra on the fake out and get that knockout on a Golden Go was really the pivotal moment of that battle, I feel. And you have to think, if you're Anthony, you have to find a way to preserve that Golden Go a little bit more, or at least get it to deal its damage in better spots. Because it felt like, at the end of the day, Anthony just didn't have enough damage. Make It Rain was able to do a decent chunk to some things. Landorus had certain options. Landorus honestly wasn't able to get a whole lot done in this battle, it felt. That Choice Scarf Landorus is a lot more offensive. You usually want to see it getting the Stomping Tantrum off a little bit more. I'm actually kind of surprised that this, it's Terra Water and doesn't have the Terra Blast.
It's a Terra Water with Earthquake instead of the Terrifying Terra Blast set that you normally see from the Scarf Landorus. although that wouldn't help it too much here against anything other than the Sinistra, really.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great, but it's at least a decent option. It would hit it would hit a couple things for super effective or neutral. But in any case, we didn't see the Tornadus or the Urshifu in the last battle for Anthony. Two of those core Pokemon in the Regulation D metagame. We've still seen a lot of them in Regulation E here. Getting close to the end of Regulation E. Curious to see how the metagame will evolve as we get towards the end of it, at the end of the year. Junxi taking his time here on the choice. Didn't see the Ursaluna or the Cresselia last battle. Seemed to be mostly a non-Trick Room setup from Junxi in the last one. Particularly, probably knowing that the Taunt Tornadus was always an option. Would have really shut down that Trick Room. In any case, battle number 2 here. We appear to be frozen for a minute. Technical difficulties, please hold. And we're back.
Okay, it is Tornadus and Goldengo versus Urshifu and Cresselia.
Interesting leads from both these sides. Both bringing one of those Pokemon that we didn't see last time, the Tornadus and the Cresselia. The Cresselia's only attacking move is Icy Wind, so an early taunt from Tornadus could really shut that Cresselia down. At the same time, you do always want to get that Tailwind up if you can. That Urshifu is a immediate threat to the Goldengo if it stays in here. Even through a Tailwind, it could be... It'll be an interesting speed. Once again, the early Terra from Junxi.
On, again, that Dark Terra on Urshifu.
Stick to your guns. If you think you have the damage, think you have the right spot for it. Helping Hand, getting ahead of a potential taunt.
Wicked Blow from Urshifu going into the Goldengo, and it's going to knock it out.
Yeah, that was a huge early hit there from Junxi. See what Anthony's Tornadus decides to use. It has to be the attacking.
It's going for the Bleak Wind.
It'll do some okay damage, but you already lose your Goldengo if you're Anthony, and now you're working from pretty far behind.
The helping hand on Crest might have also come out to potentially help cover for the Terra on Goldengo as well.
Yeah, the Terra or any switch in or anything like that. The Landorus coming in, which won't have much of an effect. Urshifu singles. The Urshifu here is locked into a critical hit move. Now, again, it's an opportunity to Tailwind here if you're Tornadus and try to get the last bit of damage out of that Urshifu. Well, at the same time, Cresselia is such a menace on that other side. You do want to make sure that it's shut down with Taunt as early as possible, but it does also have an Icy Wind option here. It wants to hit for surprisingly good damage against both these Pokemon.
Yeah, Cresselia not the most offensive Pokemon, but it does have 4 times damage onto Landorus.
Bigger Shifu switching out, try to preserve that for the later parts. Sinistra will come in. Be weak to flying, so if Bleakwind Storm comes out, it won't be super happy. It does get that hospitality bonus, so both these bulky Pokemon are full health. This is a Tailwind. Won't matter too much right now, as both these Pokemon are very slow.
Landorus going for the U-turn into Sinistra.
Smart U-turn there. Probably would have knocked out the Urshifu and did a bit of a chunk to Sinistra. Not all that much, but any bit helps.
And Anthony is going to bring in his own Urshifu as Crest goes for Icy Wind.
Yeah, and Urshifu, the reliable partner indeed. Really the -1 speed on both the Tornadus and the Urshifu should still easily outspeed here. Well, it won't be on the Tornadus, which is Covert Cloak. Should easily outspeed both of these Pokemon. Many options for Anthony now. You can get the Rain Dance to get the Urshifu more damage. Does break the Focus Sash already, which is a bit unfortunate for Anthony. The Urshifu is Focus Sash. And Taunt to shut down the Cresselia, Rain Dance to boost the Urshifu's damage. Plenty of options, but Rocky Helmet Sinistra with Rage Powder don't necessarily feel great using Surging Strikes into that slot.
And something to note here is that Junxi actually has 2 Trick Room setters out in the field, so which means that if there's a taunt, it's going to have to go into the right slot.
Indeed, it will. There is the Terastallization onto the Urshifu into the Water type. Rage Powder will come out to eat any Surging Strikes. Windstorm. Good damage onto the Sinistra. A little bit of damage onto the Cresselia. Does not knock out the Sinistra, and that means it will take the Surging Strikes, deal a little bit of damage back to the Urshifu, and get knocked out. Once again, Sinistra puts in a little bit of work and honestly gets a decent amount of value just by being knocked out.
Cresselia is going to set up the Trick Room.
And it means that the Trick Room is allowed to come out. If Sinistra had been knocked out by that Bleakwind Storm, it's possible the Surging Strikes would have knocked out the Cresselia. But in any case, does now mean that Ursaluna Blood Moon is able to come out. This is a Life Orb variant, not that Throat Spray that we see a lot of the time. Blood Moon, Hyper Voice, Earth Power, Protect. It'll deal lots of damage to both of these Pokemon in short.
Although I'm not sure if there's really any reason to not go after the Urshifu slot here, because Bleakwind I can't imagine is going to be doing too much to that Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Oh, avoiding the Protect, I suppose, is one thing. The Taunt will come out into the Cresselia, so it won't be able to do those helping hands anymore. Hyper Voice, so it will just single target the Tornadus. Nice read there, at least, to pick up that it wasn't going to be the Mind's Eye on the Urshifu, and that's a knockout onto the Tornadus. Really great damage there from the bear. And now, it'll be tough to come back from this one. The Landorus with a Choice Scarf. Not exactly the item that you want under Trick Room. That bear. And that bear will be very difficult to deal with now. Gachiguma, as that reads. Both the Landorus and the Urshifu will take tons of damage here. It'll just be the Blood Moon.
Moon into Urshifu that's going to take the knockout.
And there it goes. That cool Terastal. Very sad Urshifu dropping down. Now it's Landorus.
There's the quad effective single target Icy Wind onto Landorus, doing about half to it.
A lot of damage there, and it'll lock itself into U-turn for the rest of this battle. No more Tailwind, but still Choice Scarfed, even with the -1. And Anthony's not going to play the rest of that one out. The 2-0 from Junxi. That mixed play style. Had that Urshifu with a Choice Scarf in that first game. Played a little bit bulkier, not necessarily slow, but bulky. A lot of damage from the Hisuian Arcanine. A lot of damage from the Iron Hands. And in the second game, playing early with that Urshifu once again, but then moving to the Trick Room, getting the Ursaluna set up, and letting the Ursaluna carry the later stages of the battle. It was really well played for Junxi altogether, and showed that as much as there are options against Trick Room as it exists right now, the Tornadus did have a lot of options against it. Could have gotten one of those taunts off earlier on, but still, Junxi did a great job of setting up that Trick Room and making sure there was a scenario to get the Trick Room ready. In any case, we will take a quick break. On the other side, round 3 of Swiss here at Gym Challenge number 8. Don't go anywhere.